It was just another weekend afternoon in a small town where the local community had gathered at a low-key street fair. Bright stalls lined the sidewalks, the scent of fresh popcorn mingled with the hum of cheerful chatter, and families meandered through the event, browsing everything from handmade crafts to the latest in local organic produce. Unbeknownst to most, one of the most famous people in the world was blending in with the crowd, Kanye West. The man, known for his unpredictable nature and larger-than-life persona, stood among the vendors, sipping on a drink, seemingly just another face in the crowd. His presence, however, didn't go unnoticed for long. A few sharp-eyed fans spotted him and whispered frantically to one another. The news spread like wildfire. People began to gather around him, unsure whether to approach or stand back. Some were starstruck. Others were just curious. Kanye, for his part, seemed calm, almost distant, his trademark sunglasses shading his eyes from the afternoon sun. But there was something different today. It wasn't just Kanye West the artist they were seeing. It was Kanye West the man, lost in a moment of rare public humility. His usual entourage was nowhere to be found, and his demeanor was more relaxed than anyone had ever seen in public. Amid the crowd was a woman who hadn't planned on coming to the fair. For years, she had faced hardships that seemed never-ending. Chronic health problems, mounting medical bills, and the stress of providing for her children on a tight budget. The struggles had taken their toll, but she had a spark of hope in her heart, largely due to Kanye's music, which had been her escape during some of her darkest days. Her name was Maria, and when she heard murmurs that Kanye was nearby, her curiosity piqued. She thought it was a coincidence, but something inside told her to go find out. As she walked toward the crowd, she felt a little guilty. Perhaps it was selfish, but for a brief moment, she let herself believe that maybe, just maybe, today was a day when something extraordinary could happen. When Maria finally reached the gathering, her eyes widened. There, standing with a quiet confidence, was Kanye West. And before she could even process what was happening, he turned toward her and, with a warm smile, gestured for her to come forward. The crowd seemed to part in slow motion, and she couldn't believe it when Kanye spoke her name. "Maria, I've been following your story," Kanye said, his voice deep but gentle. "I want you to come with me." The moment felt surreal. There were tears in her eyes, not just from the shock of seeing him, but because someone so famous, someone who had never known her, had seen her, truly seen her. The crowd was in disbelief, whispering to each other. But Maria was focused only on Kanye, who, with a small gesture, motioned for her to walk with him behind a velvet rope. Kanye invited her backstage to have a more private conversation. It was an unexpected and intimate moment, one that left the audience buzzing with anticipation. But it wasn't until they were backstage, away from the eyes of the crowd, that Kanye revealed why he had chosen her. "Your story, it moved me. I can relate to the struggle. You matter, and I want to show you that," Kanye said quietly, his usual bravado replaced with a rare sincerity. Maria stood there, overwhelmed, not quite understanding how or why this was happening, but knowing in her heart that this was about to change her life forever. Kanye led Maria into a quiet, private room backstage. The buzz of the event faded away as he turned to her with a serious, yet gentle expression. "I've been following your story," Kanye said, his voice softer than anyone had expected. "You've been through a lot, and I want to help." Maria could barely breathe. Her mind raced, and her hands shook as he reached into his bag and pulled out a check. It was for an amount far beyond what she could imagine, enough to pay off her medical bills, help secure her children's futures, and more. "I know it's not much, but it's my way of showing you that you're seen, that you're valued," Kanye continued. "You've been fighting alone for too long, Maria. You deserve to breathe easy for once." The weight of the check in her hand was more than just financial relief. It was the weight of hope, something she hadn't allowed herself to feel in years. Tears welled in her eyes as she gazed at Kanye, the man who had unknowingly become her rock. I don't know what to say," Maria whispered, overwhelmed. Kanye smiled, a soft, reassuring grin. "You don't need to say anything. Just keep going. You've got this." Maria was speechless. She stood frozen for a moment, staring at the check as if it might disappear. The tears that had begun to form earlier now freely spilled down her face. This was no ordinary gesture. It was a lifeline. Kanye, noticing her emotions, stepped closer, placing a hand on her shoulder. "I know it's a lot to take in, but I want you to believe this. You matter. Your story matters." In that moment, Maria felt the weight of his words settle into her soul. His kindness was more than just financial. It was an acknowledgement of her pain and strength. She could finally see a future where she didn't have to fight alone. As she wiped away her tears, she caught a glimpse of the crew filming the moment, the fans outside who had witnessed the exchange. The story was already spreading, and Maria knew in her heart that this act of kindness would change her life forever. She didn't just have Kanye's support. She had a whole community backing her. The crowd's quiet applause outside the room only confirmed what she felt. There was a collective support for her. She was no longer invisible. The moment didn't stay behind closed doors for long. As soon as Maria left the private room, the emotional exchange was all over social media. Fans had caught snippets of the moment on their phones, and before long, clips of Kanye's unexpected gift had gone viral. Twitter exploded with reactions, Instagram posts flooded the feeds, and TikTok was filled with heartfelt responses. The hashtag #KanyeGivesBack started trending, and people from all over the world were sharing their own stories of struggle, inspired by Maria's journey. Some spoke of their battles with illness, others with financial hardship, but all were touched by the profound kindness that had been shown. It didn't take long for the media to pick up on the story. News outlets rushed to cover the unexpected act of generosity, highlighting Kanye's gesture as both surprising and sincere. Celebrities, influencers, and even political figures began tweeting about it, praising Kanye for using his platform in such a meaningful way. Maria, though overwhelmed, couldn't ignore the flood of messages from strangers offering their support. She felt as though the world had wrapped its arms around her in a way she never thought possible. And though the gift was life-changing, the real impact was the wave of empathy it had created. Kanye, now watching from a distance, shared a post on his own account. "Kindness is free. If you see someone struggling, help them. They'll never forget it. Maria, you've got this." The world was listening. Maria's life began to transform almost immediately. The financial relief was overwhelming, but it was the emotional support that made the biggest impact. Strangers, friends, and family who had never known her struggle reached out, offering encouragement, words of hope, and even tangible help. Some sent money, others offered advice, and many simply shared their own stories of perseverance. She felt the weight of her hardship slowly lift, piece by piece. With the financial burden now lifted, Maria could focus on herself and her children, on healing and rebuilding. The medical bills that had once loomed over her like an impossible mountain were now taken care of, and her children no longer had to watch their mother break down from the constant stress of trying to make ends meet. Maria took to social media to express her gratitude. "I'm not sure how to thank everyone," she wrote, her fingers trembling as she typed. "But I promise I'll pay it forward. This kindness has restored my faith in humanity." Her words resonated with people around the world, many of whom were moved to start their own initiatives to help others. Maria, who had once felt invisible, now stood at the center of a growing movement, a movement of kindness and hope, ignited by Kanye's unexpected gesture. The ripple effect of Kanye's act spread further than anyone had imagined. It became clear. One moment of kindness could change not just one life, but inspire millions. As the story continued to spread, the media began to take a deeper look into Kanye's unexpected act of generosity. While many praised him for using his influence to help someone in need, there was also skepticism. Critics questioned the authenticity of his gesture, wondering if it was just another publicity stunt or a calculated move to redeem his public image. Some pundits argued that acts of kindness from celebrities should be done quietly, without fanfare, and suggested that Kanye's very public display was more self-serving than charitable. However, others applauded him for his sincerity, noting that the emotional connection he had with Maria made his gesture seem genuine. Public opinion was divided. On one hand, many admired Kanye's willingness to step outside his usual persona and do something meaningful. On the other, some couldn't shake the feeling that the grand nature of the gesture took away from its purity. Despite the debate, one thing was certain. Kanye had sparked a conversation. The hashtag #KanyeGivesBack continued to trend, and people began to share their thoughts on celebrity philanthropy, with some pledging to make small acts of kindness in their own communities. Kanye remained mostly silent on the controversy, choosing to focus on his message rather than the criticism. To him, the impact he'd made on Maria was enough. Inspired by Kanye's gift, Maria felt compelled to do more. She had received so much, and now it was time to give back. Using her newfound platform, she started an online campaign called #PayItForward, a movement designed to help people in situations similar to hers. The goal was simple: to provide financial aid and support to individuals struggling with medical bills, education costs, and basic living expenses. Maria's message resonated with thousands. People from all walks of life began donating what they could, sharing their own stories, and offering advice to those in need. The campaign quickly gained traction, spreading across social media and local news outlets. Maria's story had become a symbol of hope for people who felt they had nowhere to turn. Kanye, seeing the growing momentum of the initiative, announced that he would match every donation made to Maria's campaign, a move that further fueled the cause. His post read, "This isn't just about one person. It's about us all coming together. Let's lift each other up. Maria, I see you." The campaign became a movement, and soon other celebrities and influencers began joining in, donating their time, money, and support. Maria's journey, which had begun in hardship, had sparked a wave of generosity, inspiring others to act in ways they never had before. Months passed, and Maria's life had transformed in ways she never imagined. She had moved into a new home, her children were thriving, and she had started her own small business, a nonprofit aimed at providing support for single parents facing similar struggles. The #PayItForward campaign continued to grow, touching lives across the globe, proving that kindness, when shared, has a far-reaching impact. Maria's story was no longer just about the gift she received from Kanye. It was about the lasting change that kindness could spark. She was no longer just a recipient of charity, but an advocate for it, inspiring others to not only receive but also give. As she traveled to speak at various events and share her journey, her message became clear. One act of kindness can change a life, and a movement begins with just one person willing to take the first step. Kanye, too, saw the ripple effect of his gesture. He began to speak more about the importance of using his platform for good, encouraging others in the entertainment industry to do the same. His involvement in Maria's campaign was just one example of how he wanted to be remembered, not just for his music, but for his impact on the world. The #PayItForward movement didn't just change Maria's life. It ignited a global shift, reminding everyone that we're all in this together. It was a reminder that kindness, empathy, and generosity could be a legacy more powerful than any fame or fortune.